A deadly organism lurks all around us. When it strikes, it's the biggest parasitic outbreak ever recorded.
There were about 101 deaths. We knew something besides the ordinary was going on.
A hidden killer attacks a man's brain. When others get the same symptoms, doctors race against time to stop it.
We are dealing with the largest outbreak of this particular parasite in the Western Hemisphere.
And a skin-eating monster rages through a Texas community.
Clearly, what we understood previously about where it was endemic may no longer be true.
3 very different parasites, but they all have one thing in common. When they enter a human population, they get out of control, cutting down victim after victim in a deadly outbreak. Parasites are among the oldest, most abundant organisms on the planet. They survive by feeding off their living hosts and give almost nothing in return.
For most parasites, survival depends on getting into or onto a host. And a host is another organism that will give them food, shelter, and a place to reproduce. The challenge is how to infect the host. Some hide in the food that their hosts eat. Others sit lurking in the environment, waiting to be picked up. And some even hijack other organisms to deliver them to the host they need to get to. And when the most successful parasites make their way into a population and spread, the result is an outbreak.
April 2000, Chicago. 23-year-old medical student Patrick Bradley is returning home from spring break. He doesn't know it, but he is about to enter the nightmare world of parasitic infection.
I get back to Chicago, I'm starting to feel that something's not exactly right, especially on the backside of my body. Like my neck's getting a little stiff and my back felt sore.
At first, Patrick isn't really worried.
I played basketball the day before, and I'm starting to think that maybe I need to hit the gym a little bit more often now because my back's really feeling sore.
But as Patrick's symptoms increase, it becomes clear. This is no sports injury.
So as the week went on, I started to feel worse and worse. And the most distressing thing was this headache all of a sudden came on. And it started out being like the kind of headache you'd have if you had a real bad 24-hour flu.
With the headaches only getting worse, Patrick seeks medical attention.
I went to see the doctor that I'd always gone to growing up, and he suggested that I take some painkillers to try to deal with the headache.
But the painkillers have no effect.
The headache's just the most extreme headache, bar none, I've ever experienced in my life. It's to the point where I really was almost wishing it would just be over.
By now, Patrick's pain is unbearable. Unable to do the simplest things, he goes to stay with his parents, where his condition nosedives.
I had an episode where I was just laying on the couch with my head in my pillow, my eyes closed, because that's really the only way I could even just like sort of tolerate breathing. And all of a sudden I just like sat up and projectile vomited sort of out of The Exorcist.
Shocked by their son's condition, Patrick's parents rush him to the emergency room. On call is Dr. Stuart Johnson.
Patrick has come to the ER and is extremely distressed. He has a headache that's been slowly building over the last several days.
When I first got into the emergency room, the doctors were trying to get me to move my neck.
Does that bother you?
Stiff.
Okay.
And to describe my symptoms, and the only thing I could utter is headache, headache. At this point, I'm thinking that it's gotta be some kind of meningitis because I can hardly move my neck.
And Dr. Johnson agrees.
The suspicion is that he has meningitis.
Meningitis is an inflammation of the lining of the brain. It's usually caused by a viral or bacterial infection. In its bacterial form, it's highly contagious and can be spread by coughs and sneezes. Left untreated, it's fatal.
The critical part of this is to discern whether this is a bacterial process or not.
To find out what is causing Patrick's meningitis, they test his spinal fluid.
They asked me to get in a fetal position. I was kind of grabbing my knees with my hands curled up in a ball and sort of exposing my backside. And they stabbed me just below my spinal cord to collect some of the fluid that's around my brain and spinal cord.
The liquid is collected in a tube called a manometer that measures the pressure of the spinal fluid. The higher the pressure, the greater the swelling in the brain.
It was amazing. This pressure was rising above the first stem of the manometer, and we watched the pressure go over the top of the tube. I've never seen a cerebrospinal pressure to this degree.
And when Dr. Johnson examines it, he is amazed at what he sees.
The surprising thing is the high percentage of a particular type of white cell in the cerebrospinal fluid, namely eosinophils.
Eosinophils are white blood cells produced by the body's immune system specifically to combat parasitic infections. Patrick has meningitis, but it isn't caused by a bacteria or a virus. It's caused by one of the deadliest parasites on the planet.
The most common cause of eosinophilic meningitis is infection with rat lungworm.
I remember Dr. Johnson telling us that I'd been infected with a parasitic worm and that parasitic worm was in my brain. I was shocked. I was terrified.
The rat lungworm is one of the most feared parasites on the planet. Though rat lungworm cases have appeared in the continental U.S., most infections occur in Hawaii and other tropical islands. So where did Patrick get it? Patrick tells Dr. Johnson that he was part of a group of students that recently visited Jamaica. When Dr. Johnson calls the other students, he makes an alarming discovery.
We have an additional 9 students that have the very same symptoms. This is not an isolated case. This is an outbreak.
Although it's not contagious, Dr. Johnson needs to find the source of the outbreak so that he can alert other potential victims.
We are dealing with the largest outbreak of this particular parasite in the Western Hemisphere. 12 students, right, we think, meet the case definition. So it's very important that we get a handle on this as quickly as we can.
Dr. Johnson and his team start to question the 6 students.
A series of interviews were conducted asking where they'd been, what they've eaten, because we know this is a foodborne illness.
All the interviews point in one direction.
It was very apparent after a short period of time that one particular restaurant meal the night before they left Jamaica was highly implicated. All of the patients that were sick had eaten the Caesar salad.
So what was wrong with the Caesar salad? The answer lies in the rat lungworm's life cycle. The adult worm lays its eggs inside the lungs of a rat. The eggs hatch into larvae. The larvae are coughed up from the rat's lungs and swallowed back into its stomach. Then they are expelled in the rat's feces and are eaten by a second host, a slug or a snail. When the snail is eaten by a rat, the life cycle is repeated. The most probable cause of the outbreak was that an infected slug or snail was accidentally chopped up in the unwashed lettuce.
In the Caesar salad, on the unwashed lettuce were snails or slugs that had the worm inside it.
Of all the 6 students, Patrick's case is the most severe. As he lies in agony in the hospital, the parasitic worms chart a horrific course through his body. The larvae hatch inside his stomach, then burrow into his bloodstream. They travel in the blood to the edge of the brain. There, they burst through the brain's defensive lining. Inside the brain, the larvae grow into adult worms. But when the worms try to get back into the bloodstream, they get stuck and die in the brain lining, causing it to swell.
The body's own immune system is attacking the worm, and this is causing a huge inflammatory response in the covering of the brain.
In the case of the rat lungworm, the infection is damaging the body in two ways. First, the worms are burrowing through the body, and that causes hemorrhaging and bleeding and tissue damage. And second, your body is attacking these organisms, and that causes swelling, and that swelling can be a problem when it presses up against vital organs like the brain, and that can be deadly.
Patrick's immune system is working overtime to kill the worms, but instead, it's killing him.
It was really getting to be a grim scenario. The doctors were sort of running out of options.
And time is running out. Not only is Patrick in imminent danger, but the other students aren't far behind. In Chicago, 23-year-old medical student Patrick Bradley is one victim in a deadly outbreak. A parasite called the rat lungworm has caused the lining of his brain to swell and press against his skull, giving Patrick a severe case of meningitis.
On the forefront of our minds is the thought that Patrick might die. If we killed the larvae, that might lead to increasing the inflammation.
Instead of fighting the worms, the doctors must attack Patrick's own immune system.
It was controlling the immune response, which was critical to managing his symptoms.
The doctors give Patrick a large dose of steroids to reduce the inflammation.
The steroids toned down the immune response. This was quite effective in decreasing his symptoms.
I wasn't sure it was going to work, but I'm feeling so much relief.
The next morning, when I walked in Patrick's room, it was like he had never been ill.
After 3 weeks, all the worms are dead, and the steroid treatment has reduced the swelling in Patrick's brain. Patrick and the other students are cured. The outbreak is over. Today, Patrick is symptom-free and refuses to let the experience hold him back.
If I'm ever overseas again, I think I would be somewhat more cautious about what I would eat, and I'm not gonna, be scared. I mean, that would be like letting the worms win.
It's worth remembering that for a lot of these parasites that end up in the human brain, humans are not their target. So when they do end up there, it's a disaster for the parasite just as much as it's a disaster for the human. The rat lungworm prefers rats or snails and slugs, but when it does get into a human population, that's when an outbreak occurs.
Parasites like the rat lungworm thrive in places where sanitation is lacking. But that doesn't mean that developed areas are parasite-free.
In the developed world, we've gotten so good at hygiene and sanitation that we almost forget the parasites are there. But they are there, and they're waiting, and all it takes is one slip-up, and we've got an outbreak.
As one Midwestern city is about to find out. 1992. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Population 1.4 million. Could one man's death be a sign of a disaster to come? Danny Babb is caring for his longtime friend, Jonathan Pilarski.
Jonathan and I were inseparable. I mean, we were closer than a brother.
But later that summer, Jonathan begins to get sick.
When I first started noticing the symptoms, they started with night sweats and weight loss.
These symptoms don't come as a surprise. In fact, both Danny and Jonathan have been preparing for this moment for some time.
I had known he had AIDS for at least 4 years.
With AIDS, the body's immune system barely functions at all, leaving it highly susceptible to infections.
Initially, I thought Jonathan's symptoms were due simply to having the AIDS virus. until the other symptoms started to appear.
By August, what began as night sweats and weight loss becomes crippling stomach cramps and unrelenting diarrhea.
It was like he didn't have enough holes in his body to extract the waste. And I started pressing him to try to get some kind of professional assistance.
Jonathan agrees to go to the hospital. After a few days, the pain becomes unbearable.
His whole body was turning to waste. He grew hysterical about being touched. He was in such severe pain that he was praying, to die.
Three days after being admitted to the hospital, Jonathan's prayer is answered.
He went into shock. The pain was so severe. I really knew then that we were waiting for the final moment.
On August 3rd, 1992, Jonathan Pilarski dies. At the time, it seems that he is another victim of the AIDS virus. But the real killer is about to go on a rampage throughout the entire city. The best way to avoid lung fluke is not to eat which of the following? A, unwashed vegetables. B, raw fish. C, undercooked crabs. The best way to avoid lung fluke is C, not to eat undercooked crabs. The only way to kill the parasite is to cook an infected crab thoroughly. When AIDS patient Jonathan Pilarski dies, everyone assumes his death is solely due to the HIV virus. What they don't know is that the same parasite that killed Jonathan is about to launch an attack on the city. April 1993, 6 months after Jonathan's death. On the south side of Milwaukee, infectious disease specialist Dr. Ian Gilson notices something strange in the HIV-positive community.
We had a group of patients, maybe 20 to 25 patients, who were severely immunosuppressed with AIDS, who occupied more and more of our time because they were so sick and had such medical needs.
And just like Jonathan, all of Dr. Gilson's patients are suffering from crippling diarrhea.
We'd use standard antidiarrheal medications. We'd use things like Imodium and Lomotil and fluid and electrolyte replacement, but it just didn't stop.
To make matters worse, the number of extremely sick patients begins to increase. Dr. Gilson sends a report of his findings to the City of Milwaukee's health commissioner, Paul Nannis. But Gilson is not the only one to raise the alarm.
We had set up a system where the health department would receive lab results from a couple of local hospitals. And we started to notice that that morning we were getting lots of lab reports of patients presenting cold, flu-like symptoms.
But not all the new cases are HIV sufferers. In fact, most of them involve people who are otherwise perfectly healthy.
We began to tally the number of folks that were anecdotally reported to us as ill, and it started out as hundreds.
Nannis begins to suspect a citywide outbreak, but of what?
As we began to see kind of the volume, the magnitude of the reports that were coming in, we knew something besides the ordinary was going on.
That evening, Nannis and his team begin to map out where people are getting sick. And they immediately see a pattern in one specific section of the city.
And we could see a concentration of illness on the south side.
The health department orders blood and stool samples to be taken from the sickest patients.
Is there anything unusual about these samples?
The blood tests come back clear. But tests on the stool samples reveal the culprit. Each sample contains traces of a potentially deadly parasite. Nanis can't believe what the lab technician is telling him.
He looked at them and he saw in all 8 of the samples that he had, he found Cryptosporidium.
Cryptosporidium is a highly infectious and potentially deadly parasite. When ingested, it attaches to the lining of the small bowel. There, it multiplies and attacks the intestine. As the parasite spreads, the body attempts to flush it out, and this reaction results in diarrhea. Nanis needs to act quickly to stem the outbreak and immediately turns his attention to the city's water supply.
We had a water plant, one that served the north side of Milwaukee and one that served the south side of Milwaukee.
But since the outbreak seems to be confined to one side of the city, he zeroes in on the prime suspect, the South Side's Howard Avenue water purification plant.
We began to look at the records of water quality from the south side plant. We noticed there was an incident, a spike in what we call turbidity.
Turbidity is a measure of the cloudiness or haziness of drinking water, resulting from the presence of unwanted particles like dirt, chemicals, or parasites. In Milwaukee, the spike in turbidity levels began 3 weeks earlier.
We didn't know why, but we at least knew it was the water plant. Let's shut it down.
Faced with the worst parasitic outbreak in U.S. history, the city shuts down the South Side water plant, leaving 500,000 residents without running water. But the move comes too late. The parasite has already infected almost half the city's residents.
I think it was something like 400 to 500,000 people got the diarrhea in our urban area. That's something like 40% of all people in the Milwaukee area.
For most of the city's residents, the symptoms caused by Cryptosporidium are mild. Doctors prescribe anti-diarrhea pills, and after a week, most victims recover.
The vast majority of people who were not severely immunocompromised, virtually all of them recovered.
But for people with weakened immune systems, the outlook is grim.
The ones who had extremely damaged immune systems found it very difficult to recover.
When confronted by a weakened immune system, Cryptosporidium multiplies over and over again. While some Cryptosporidium is washed away, most of it stays and continues to multiply and line the stomach walls. By lining the stomach walls, Cryptosporidium prevents the body from absorbing nutrients. The constant diarrhea pushes the nutrients out of the body, eventually causing malnutrition and death.
There were about 101 deaths, and almost all of the patients that died had HIV or AIDS. So this was a huge incident for the HIV/AIDS community.
While the shutdown of the water plant prevents any new cases, the health commissioner must still solve the most pressing question.
What was the cause?
Cryptosporidium has a protective coating that allows it to withstand chlorine-based cleaning systems, and that's how it got into Milwaukee's drinking water. On April 10th, the city orders a thorough examination of the South Side treatment plant. But when they test the water in the plant, the Cryptosporidium is gone. The turbidity levels are back to normal. Nanis is stumped.
By the time we had discovered that people were getting sick and that we identified the agent of infection as Cryptosporidium, we weren't able to find crypto in the water plant.
By the next week, there are no more new cases. Nanis and his team are convinced that the parasitic cloud must have passed through the water system and is now completely gone.
Finally, because we had consecutive clean readings from the lab that the water was clean, we lifted the advisory, and we knew at least we were over that stage.
For Milwaukee's South Side residents, life soon returns to normal. But the biggest question still remains. Where did the cryptosporidium come from? For years following the 1993 outbreak, no one knows. Until now. One scientist believes he knows what caused the biggest parasitic outbreak in U.S. history. More than a decade after tainted water infected 400,000 Milwaukee residents with a killer parasite, the source of the infection remains a mystery. For City Health Commissioner Paul Nannis, the prime suspects have long been local cattle.
Cryptosporidium is extremely common in cattle, so it's very plausible that runoff from a farm could carry cryptosporidium and put it into a water supply.
We had a lot of snow, a lot of runoff. A lot of runoff came from those dairy farms.
The prevailing theory is that melting snow accelerated the runoff of contaminated cattle feces. This could have caused a mass of cryptosporidium to flow into the rivers that feed the water system. But one scientist has his doubts and keeps investigating. And now, 15 years later, Dr. Ronald Fayer of the USDA believes he knows the real cause of the Milwaukee outbreak.
Cryptosporidium a few years ago was considered a single species.
But new DNA-based testing has shown that there are different species of Cryptosporidium. Fayer thinks this technology can help find the source of the Milwaukee outbreak. Fortunately, stool samples from the 1993 outbreak still exist.
Feces from humans that were infected with Cryptosporidium were saved.
So Dr. Fayer and his team put the stool samples through the newly developed molecular test. They are hoping to solve the mystery of America's deadliest parasitic outbreak once and for all. The results are shocking.
It was found that the molecular fingerprint matched a species called Cryptosporidium hominis.
Cattle don't carry Cryptosporidium hominis, but humans do.
Cryptosporidium hominis is a species that is transmitted from human to human to human. Cattle are not involved in that cycle. So, in effect, we have found that humans were the source of the human infection based on the molecular methods that became available after that time.
Using Dr. Fayer's findings, one leading theory has emerged as to what caused the outbreak. In late March 1993, an isolated sewage leak could have released a cloud of Cryptosporidium-infected human feces into the rivers that feed Milwaukee's water system. The parasitic cloud would have caused the spike in turbidity at the Southside plant before infecting the drinking water. By early April, when the turbidity levels had returned to normal and no further cases were reported, the mass would have cleared the system. Cryptosporidium continues to threaten water supplies in the U.S. Ozone treatment reduces the amount of Cryptosporidium in drinking water, but it doesn't completely destroy all of it. On average, there are 10 Cryptosporidium parasites in every 10 gallons of New York drinking water. But at this concentration, it rarely causes illness.
Part of the reason Cryptosporidium is so successful is because it has a great strategy. It uses water to get to its host. By using water as a means of infection, Cryptosporidium is able to infect large populations very quickly. They're able to spread through large geographic areas. So water works well for Cryptosporidium. Some parasites use a different method. They use animals to transport them to their next host.
Weldon Hatch is a 59-year-old delivery driver living 30 miles south of Dallas, Texas, in the small town of Waxahachie.
Waxahachie's a rural town. We've lived here 20 years. I'm a Texas master naturalist, so we do lots of projects out in the country all over North Texas. I like being outside, see things grow.
But Weldon's life is about to become the center of a medical mystery.
The first thing I noticed in late November, 2 very bright red spots on my back, and they itched a little. It was as painful as probably a burn is when it's trying to heal, like something maybe piercing your skin. Well, its first thought was an insect sting or bite.
But after a few weeks, the red marks are still there.
You could see the volume was increasing in size, like a small balloon even in your skin, and they were rounded, smooth, bright red. I left it alone. It was too unique and different to think about experimenting on, so I didn't put anything on it.
But before long, the sores become impossible to ignore.
Being in a van or driving, I'd have to sit sideways so I wouldn't lean against it. I couldn't lay on my back. I had to sleep on my side or my stomach, because if you laid on your back and put too much weight, it instantly pushed on them, and it was very uncomfortable.
4 weeks after he first noticed the sores, Weldon finally seeks medical attention. Weldon's doctor tells him he has a bacterial infection and prescribes a 2-week course of antibiotics.
Yeah, that felt a good solution to me, and a lot of times a prescription will work better than anything you could do at home, so I felt good for it.
But 2 weeks later, Weldon isn't feeling so good.
I applied those things twice a day, and they didn't do anything. Being an intelligent doctor, she decided it was beyond her scope of treatment, and was wanting to refer it to someone else that might know more.
Weldon's doctor refers him to a dermatologist in Dallas named Dr. Kent Aftergut.
When we first saw the non-healing sores, our first thought that this was most likely something infectious, such as atypical mycobacteria or other unusual bacteria. If you're not sure what it is, or you want to see what could be causing the problem, one easy way to do it is to take a piece of the skin, what we call a skin biopsy.
Dr. Clay Cockrell runs a dermatologic pathology lab in Dallas. When he tests Weldon's skin sample, he sees something odd.
You see these cells that are very pale, and they contain these little small round structures, and they tend to line up around the periphery of these cells, and almost kind of like a Ferris wheel.
The Ferris wheel shape is the trademark of a deadly flesh-eating parasite. Dallas, Texas. Pathologist Dr. Clay Cockrell has found something unusual in Weldon Hatch's skin sample. The Ferris wheel-shaped cells are a sign that Weldon's skin is home to a flesh-eating parasite.
We were able to tell by looking at it that it was characteristic of leishmaniasis.
Leishmaniasis is a single-celled protozoan parasite which attacks the skin. It causes terrible sores that the body finds almost impossible to heal. If the sores get infected, the victim can die.
The leishmaniasis parasite is extremely successful because it can feed off of a whole bunch of different kinds of animals. In fact, all it needs is something with skin.
Dr. Aftergut calls Weldon with the diagnosis.
Well, he called me up and just said, we think it's this parasite, and we're going to determine how to treat it. There was some anxiety to a little degree.
But the successful diagnosis creates another mystery. More than 90% of the world's cases of leishmaniasis occur in the Middle East and Asia. The remaining 10% are in Latin America, ranging from northern Argentina to northern Mexico. So how did a man from the middle of Texas suddenly get this tropical skin parasite?
One of the first questions the doctor Aftergut had was, had I been out of the country? Because it's not a common thing here, so how did I get it?
But Weldon hasn't left the country in over 30 years. With no evidence of Weldon having traveled, the doctors arrive at a chilling conclusion.
So once we really talked to him a second time, we became convinced that he had gotten it in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We were very surprised and a little bit alarmed. Clearly, what we understood previously about leishmaniasis and where it was endemic may no longer be true.
Could a deadly flesh-eating parasite be lurking just outside Dallas, Texas? a city of 6 million people. Dr. Aftergut decides to raise his concerns at a conference of local dermatologists.
Our patient was a very interesting case, and I wanted to bring him to see if there were other cases. Dr. Cockrell was at that meeting, and Dr. Cockrell said maybe we've seen a couple.
Weldon's is not an isolated case. Are the doctors looking at an outbreak?
We started calling out all the cases we'd seen over the last few years. It made us think that we really had something that was important.
The doctors put together a research team to discover if leishmaniasis is now endemic to northern Texas. After extensive research, the team uncovers 29 new cases of leishmaniasis in the North Texas area.
We contacted each patient and basically spoke with them and determined what exactly was their travel history and if they'd left the area.
To their amazement, they discover that 9 of the victims, like Weldon, have never left the state. Searching for a link, the scientists plot each new case on a map.
Was it urban areas? Was it suburban areas? Was it people near a river, near a lake? All those things we looked at.
The only connection is where they really lived, in the same general geographic area.
The doctor's suspicions are confirmed. The leishmaniasis parasite is loose in North Texas. One man thinks he knows how the parasite is spreading. Dr. Russell Raymond is an expert in leishmaniasis.
Rodents are a common reservoir of leishmaniasis in other parts of the world, so it's a natural place to start looking.
Dr. Raymond heads out into the countryside to trap wood rats.
This looks like a good place to put the traps. You can see the rodents have obviously been active in this area from eating on the cactus.
Having chosen the spot, he sets the traps and returns later to see what he's got. Dr. Raymond coaxes the rat into a mesh cone to keep it still. Using a skin punch, he takes a tiny sample of the rat's ear. With the skin sample in hand, Dr. Raymond releases the rat. Back in the lab, Dr. Raymond prepares the skin samples.
Here's that little piece of tissue biopsy that we took from the rodent's ear out in the field.
This test, called a PCR, will show if there is leishmaniasis DNA in the wood rat skin sample.
Now for the results. Let's see if our rat was infected. And this white band shows us an infected wood rat.
The tests prove that the leishmaniasis parasite is being carried by wood rats. But a piece of the puzzle is still missing.
Now, the wood rat doesn't transmit the parasite directly to humans. There's an intermediate at play here, and insects are very common transmitters of disease.
But which insect is responsible for spreading the parasite? In Texas, Dr. Russell Raymond is on the trail of an insect that's transmitting the flesh-eating parasite leishmaniasis. He starts by making a house call at the den of a wood rat. Dr. Raymond puts tube traps into the den. He hopes to snare the insects that are cohabitating with the wood rat.
What we'll do is place it in the nest opening so that when the insects come out, they have to enter the trap.
In the lab, Dr. Raymond examines his catch, a tiny insect known as the sandfly. Sandflies are critical to the life of this parasite. If the insect is infected, the parasite will show up in the sandfly's midgut.
Okay, and she is infected.
The parasite multiplies in the midgut of a sandfly. When the fly bites a human, the parasite enters the blood. White blood cells attack the intruders, but the parasite fights back and hijacks the white blood cells. The parasite multiplies inside the white blood cells, then bursts out and attacks the surrounding skin cells. When a sandfly bites an infected human, the cycle starts all over again.
The sandfly is a key element for any outbreak of leishmaniasis. A sandfly is about a third the size of a mosquito, and it's extremely aggressive. It will feed off of dogs, cows, horses. It doesn't care.
In Texas, humans become infected when they get into that transmission cycle, and the infected fly bites the human instead of another rat.
This is exactly how Weldon Hatch got leishmaniasis. Weldon has now had the lesions on his back for over 2 months. The best treatment is to surgically remove them. In his office, Dr. Aftergut cuts the lesions off Weldon's back.
We gave him an oral medication called fluconazole that has been shown to have some activity against leishmaniasis, just to ensure that this wasn't going to come back.
The other 8 patients in Texas were treated with drugs and underwent surgery. They have all recovered. Now that doctors in North Texas are aware of the leishmaniasis threat, they can be on the lookout.
It is something that patients and doctors need to be aware of. When they see a non-healing sore, it's important they consider leishmaniasis as part of the diagnosis.
The best way to avoid sandfly bites is to use insect repellent and cover up at dusk and at dawn. Today, despite the risks involved, Weldon Hatch is determined to continue the work he loves.
Well, I'm out and about still. I'm not going to stay in the house. So if I went in an area that had this fly, I could go into it again and get stung again. It's something to think about, so you keep your insect spray handy.
12 million people in the world have leishmaniasis, and every year 1.5 million new people get the disease. The leishmaniasis parasite is so good at infecting people because it's picked a great way of getting to them, and that's the sandfly. Anytime you see an increase in the population of sandflies in an area, you're going to get an increase in the number of leishmaniasis outbreaks.
By sweeping through a human population, leishmaniasis is only doing what all parasites are biologically driven to do: reproduce and spread from host to host.
Whether it's by hitching a ride on an insect or moving through the water, the ultimate goal of any parasite is to get to more hosts. So while a parasitic outbreak is bad news for humans, it's a mark of how successful and how cunning the parasites are.
Have you ever wondered what happens to your prostate when you masturbate daily? It's a question many men don't think about, but understanding this could be crucial for your long-term health. Whether you're over 50 or still in your 30s, taking care of your prostate should be a priority, and this video is here to explain why. As we age, prostate health becomes more important, and yet, it's a topic that's often overlooked. In today's video, we'll take a deep dive into how daily masturbation impacts the prostate and the surprising effects it can have on your sexual health. We're not just talking about the basics. We'll explore what could happen if your prostate doesn't get the attention it needs, and why regular care can help prevent discomfort, pain, and other health issues later on. By the end of this video, you'll know why the prostate plays such a vital role in your overall well-being and how simple habits, like regular ejaculation, could protect you from serious conditions like congestive prostatitis. Don't miss out on this essential information that could help you feel better, live healthier, and protect your most important assets as you age. Stick with us until the end, and let's unravel the mystery of prostate health together. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. The prostate, often an overlooked and underestimated organ, holds an incredibly important role in male sexual health and overall well-being. Small in size, but immense in its impact, the prostate is far from just a passive structure. It is at the heart of many essential functions, yet it's frequently ignored, left unnoticed, or underappreciated until problems arise. Despite its pivotal role, many men fail to fully understand how crucial it is to care for the prostate regularly. If neglected, however, this small gland can become a source of significant health concerns, leading to complications that could have otherwise been prevented. In this conversation, we're going to explore not just the basic functions of the prostate, but also the profound consequences that can occur when it is not given the attention and care it so desperately deserves. Every time a man ejaculates, something much more complex than just the release of sperm occurs. The prostate is actively involved in this process. The fluid that the prostate produces doesn't just serve the function of nourishing and protecting sperm. It's also vital for facilitating the movement of sperm during ejaculation. But here's where it gets interesting. Ejaculation triggers a series of muscular contractions in the pelvic region, which help to push out the prostatic fluid that is built up in the prostatic ducts. These contractions are more than just reflexes. They are essential for maintaining prostate health. Without them, the prostate secretions can stagnate, and the organ can become blocked or congested. The complexity of this process highlights just how intricate and vital the prostate is in a man's overall sexual function. Now, imagine what could happen if this natural flow is disrupted. In men who experience long periods of sexual inactivity, these vital processes may be delayed or even come to a halt. When ejaculation doesn't happen regularly, the fluid inside the prostate accumulates, unable to move or be expelled as it should. This can lead to what is known as congestion, a state where the prostate becomes overfilled with its secretions. This stagnation can cause discomfort and gradually lead to more severe issues. One of the most common and troubling conditions that arise from this stagnation is called congestive prostatitis. While it's not an infection in the typical sense, meaning there's no bacterial growth or viral attack, the symptoms are distressingly similar. Men with congestive prostatitis may experience chronic pain or aching in the pelvic region, a constant feeling of pressure or fullness around the bladder, or a painful and often uncomfortable sensation during urination. But here's the thing, this doesn't need to happen. By practicing regular sexual activity, including masturbation, the prostate can be kept in optimal health. These activities help to stimulate the release of the prostatic fluid, preventing the dangerous buildup that could lead to congestion. The gentle but regular activation of the muscular contractions that accompany ejaculation ensures the continued flow of fluid and keeps the prostate functioning as it should. It's a simple process that, if incorporated into one's routine, could significantly reduce the risk of prostatitis, congestion, and other related conditions. However, there's more. The issue of prostate health doesn't just stop at congestion. Another major concern is prostate inflammation, commonly known in medical circles as prostatitis. Prostatitis is a broader term that refers to inflammation of the prostate, but it can manifest in different ways. It can be either infectious or non-infectious, and it can occur at any age. That being said, it's more common in older men, especially those who face chronic inflammation unrelated to any bacterial infection. The causes of this non-bacterial prostatitis are complex and multifaceted, often linked to factors such as oxidative stress, cellular aging, or the buildup of metabolic waste products that the body struggles to eliminate. Over time, these factors can compromise the prostate's ability to function properly, leading to chronic discomfort, pain, or even more serious health complications. What's most alarming about this issue is that many men, especially as they grow older, simply accept prostate problems as an inevitable part of aging. They may brush off early symptoms of discomfort, thinking it's something they have to live with. But it doesn't have to be this way. Prostate health is not just about addressing symptoms when they arise, it's about prevention. Taking small, consistent steps to care for the prostate can make all the difference in the long run. Regular sexual activity, a balanced diet rich in antioxidants, and staying hydrated are just a few ways men can help protect their prostate from the ravages of time. I believe that prostate health should be a priority for every man, especially as they age. Too many people treat their health as something they only need to worry about when things go wrong, but it's much more powerful to be proactive. The prostate is too important to neglect, and understanding how to maintain it can have a profound impact on one's quality of life. The discomfort, pain, and frustration that can come from conditions like prostatitis or prostate congestion don't have to be part of the story. Instead, by educating ourselves, maintaining regular habits, and caring for our bodies, we can prevent these issues from taking hold. So, let's take the time to truly understand our bodies and give them the attention they deserve. After all, our health is not just the absence of disease, it's the presence of well-being. And that starts with nurturing every organ, every function, and every system, including the often forgotten, but no less important, prostate. An often overlooked but crucial aspect of prostate health is the delicate, yet powerful, relationship it has with our hormonal balance. The prostate, though small in size, is incredibly sensitive to male hormones, particularly testosterone and its more potent derivative, dihydrotestosterone, DHT. These hormones play a vital role in regulating the prostate's function and health. As men age, their hormone levels naturally fluctuate, which can lead to a range of changes in the body. One of the most common being a gradual increase in the size of the prostate, a condition known as benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH. For many men, this shift in hormone levels can result in uncomfortable symptoms such as frequent urination, weak urine flow, and even potential difficulties with sexual health. These changes can be disorienting and unsettling, making it feel like the body is slowly losing its vitality. Yet, this process is natural, though it can be mitigated or at least managed with the right approach. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. One factor that many people don't fully appreciate is how certain behaviors can subtly influence hormonal balance, including masturbation. Now, I know this may seem like an unexpected topic, but hear me out. During ejaculation, there is a temporary, albeit brief, drop in DHT levels. This is significant because DHT, while necessary for the development of male traits and sexual function, can also contribute to overstimulation of the prostate over time. By reducing DHT, even for a short period, masturbation may indirectly help to prevent the excessive buildup of stimulation in the prostate, offering a small respite. It's easy to dismiss this as unimportant, but I believe it highlights a larger point: the interconnectedness of the body. Small, everyday habits, whether it's diet, exercise, or even masturbation, can have a ripple effect on our overall health. While the reduction in DHT from masturbation is temporary, it is part of a larger, holistic approach to maintaining balance in the body. In my opinion, any practice that contributes to a healthier, more harmonious body should not be ignored or trivialized. That being said, let's pivot to a more serious and alarming subject: prostate cancer. It is one of the most prevalent cancers among older men, and its diagnosis is often met with fear and uncertainty. Many men fear this diagnosis deeply, and understandably so. As I mentioned earlier, there have been numerous studies that suggest a connection between the frequency of ejaculation and a reduced risk of prostate cancer. While the exact mechanisms are still not fully understood, the theory is that frequent ejaculation may help to reduce the prostate's exposure to potentially harmful substances that accumulate in the prostatic fluid over time. These substances may contribute to the development of cancer. It's as if the body is offering a natural defense, though it's not a guarantee by any means. While masturbation can't shield us from cancer outright, it does seem to be a small, yet potentially beneficial, part of a comprehensive approach to prostate health. However, I cannot stress enough that masturbation should not be seen as a replacement for other essential health practices. It's not a magic bullet, and it certainly shouldn't be viewed as the sole protector against prostate cancer. The truth is that a well-rounded approach is necessary, one that includes regular medical checkups, a balanced and nutritious diet, regular physical activity, and awareness of family history. This is where screening tests like the prostate-specific antigen, PSA, test become so important. If you have a family history of prostate cancer, for example, early detection through these tests can be life-saving. Regular screenings provide an invaluable opportunity to catch any potential issues early when treatment options are still abundant, and the prognosis is often much better. I also want to touch on something that's not often discussed but is just as important: the emotional and mental connection men have with their bodies. Masturbation, while often seen as a purely physical act, can serve as a unique opportunity for men to become more in tune with their health. It's a chance to notice changes, whether they're physical, emotional, or even subtle differences in how the body feels. This is an important aspect of self-care. It's not just about health in the traditional sense of eating well and exercising. It's about being mindful of your body, noticing any shifts, and learning to detect early signs of issues, such as tenderness, swelling, or discomfort in the prostate area. These signals can be crucial for early intervention. For instance, during self-stimulation, a man may notice changes in how the prostate feels or may detect any pain or discomfort that wasn't present before. Such subtle changes could signal a potential problem, prompting a visit to the doctor for further examination. This proactive approach to health is something I believe every man should embrace. It's empowering to be aware of your body and its signals, and it can make a world of difference when it comes to preventing more serious health concerns down the road. The emotional and psychological impact of maintaining a healthy prostate cannot be overstated. It is something that deeply affects men's overall quality of life, yet it is often overlooked in discussions about health and wellness. Taking care of one's prostate and sexual health isn't just about preventing illness or dealing with physical symptoms. It's about ensuring that men feel whole, confident, and at peace within themselves. When a man prioritizes his prostate health, he isn't just protecting his body. He's also reinforcing his sense of self-worth and confidence, which can significantly improve his mental and emotional well-being. There is a profound connection between the health of our most intimate areas and how we feel about ourselves. A healthy prostate can enhance self-esteem and emotional stability, promoting a sense of vitality and wellness that affects every other aspect of life. It's not just about preventing discomfort or managing health issues. It's about feeling good in one's skin. Men who take the time to care for their prostate often report an increase in confidence, especially in intimate situations. This, in turn, can have a positive ripple effect on their relationships with others, particularly romantic ones. When one is at peace with their body and sexual health, it creates a foundation for stronger, more trusting, and more fulfilling relationships. The psychological benefits are far-reaching, helping men develop a deeper connection with themselves and those they love. I believe that sexual and prostatic health are often treated as secondary concerns in men's lives, but they are integral to emotional well-being. It's so easy for men to dismiss these areas of health, thinking that issues such as prostate health or sexual function are just part of aging or something to be brushed aside. But ignoring these aspects of health can lead to feelings of frustration, anxiety, and even shame, especially if problems arise but are left unaddressed. This neglect can chip away at self-esteem and leave men feeling disconnected from their bodies and partners. When men invest in their prostate health, they are not only reducing the risks of more serious medical conditions, such as prostate cancer or benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, but they are also contributing to their emotional well-being. Feeling physically healthy in these intimate areas can have a profound impact on mental health, boosting mood, reducing anxiety, and even increasing energy levels. Moreover, it can help alleviate feelings of stress, particularly the stress associated with aging and the fear of sexual dysfunction. In this way, prostate health is directly linked to a more vibrant, balanced life. We will continue to explore these crucial topics in future discussions. There is so much to learn about how to recognize the early warning signs of prostate issues, such as changes in urinary habits or pelvic discomfort. The more aware men are of these early indicators, the sooner they can take steps to address potential issues. Additionally, we will discuss pelvic exercises that can improve prostate health and help maintain optimal function. These simple, everyday practices can have a profound impact on a man's health, providing support for the prostate and enhancing overall sexual well-being. Another aspect I am passionate about is the role emotions and stress play in sexual health. Many men don't realize how much their emotional state can affect their prostate and sexual function. Stress, anxiety, and unresolved emotional turmoil can manifest physically in various ways, including impacting prostate health. By addressing these emotional factors, men can significantly improve their sexual well-being and overall health. Our emotional well-being and our physical health are intricately connected, and understanding this relationship is key to achieving a balanced and fulfilled life. One of the more unconventional yet incredibly important topics we'll delve into is how masturbation, when approached thoughtfully, can benefit prostate health. As I mentioned in previous discussions, masturbation can serve as a form of self-care for the prostate, helping to clear out toxins and reduce congestion. However, it's important to realize that this practice goes beyond just a quick release of tension. It can be a conscious, mindful act that enhances both physical and emotional well-being. The way we approach and experience masturbation can have a lasting effect on how we feel about ourselves and our bodies. In today's fast-paced world, many men tend to rush through intimate moments, treating them as a quick fix to relieve tension or stress. However, I believe that we can elevate this practice to something much more enriching and fulfilling. Masturbation should not be mechanical or rushed. When approached with intention, it can become a deeply pleasurable, rewarding experience that nurtures both body and mind. By dedicating exclusive time and space to this practice, free from distractions or interruptions, men can experience greater pleasure and satisfaction. This time for self-connection is essential. It's an opportunity to slow down and truly listen to your body. The environment in which this intimate practice takes place plays a significant role in how we feel about it. Choosing a peaceful, private setting where you can relax and focus on the experience helps to eliminate feelings of guilt, shame, or anxiety that may sometimes accompany these moments. The goal is to create a space where self-pleasure is not only accepted but embraced as a natural and healthy part of self-care. It's about creating a relationship with oneself that is positive, loving, and free of judgment. In my opinion, this approach to masturbation, one of intention and self-awareness, can profoundly impact a man's emotional and physical health. It encourages a deeper connection with one's body, enhances sexual confidence, and supports overall well-being. When men take the time to practice self-care in this mindful way, they can experience not only improved prostate health but also a stronger sense of self-love, empowerment, and emotional balance. This, I believe, is one of the most valuable steps toward living a fuller, healthier life. Ultimately, this journey of self-awareness and self-care is not just about physical health. It's about cultivating a deeper, more meaningful relationship with ourselves. By understanding the power of our body's health and the emotional impact of maintaining that health, we can unlock a more vibrant, confident, and balanced version of ourselves. And that is something every man deserves. Masturbation is often thought of as a simple, private act, but in reality, it can be a profound opportunity to truly listen to and understand your body on a deeper level. It's not just about experiencing pleasure, but also about becoming more attuned to how your body feels, both physically and emotionally. By tuning into your body during this time, you create a space where you can be mindful and aware of your sensations, not just the pleasure itself, but the overall health of your body. This moment can be a small but powerful check-in with yourself. Are there any unusual feelings, such as discomfort, pain, or a change in the texture or color of semen? These could be early warning signs of something that might require medical attention. It's easy to brush off small discomforts or dismiss them as nothing, but it's crucial to be attentive. Your body has a way of communicating with you, and it's your responsibility to listen. Ignoring subtle signs could mean missing out on addressing a problem before it becomes more serious. I think it's important to remember that masturbation is not only about personal pleasure, but it also provides an opportunity for self-care, an act of looking after your body's health and getting to know yourself better. Every time you engage in this act, you can use it as a moment to pause and reflect. Feel how your body reacts, what excites you, and what doesn't. This awareness is an important part of nurturing a positive relationship with your body, one where you can care for it with love and understanding. Masturbation, when approached with mindfulness, can become a practice of self-discovery, helping you feel more connected to yourself and your desires. Along with this awareness comes the often overlooked topic of hygiene, which is so important to ensure a safe and healthy experience. It may seem like common sense, but I can't stress enough how crucial it is to wash your hands both before and after masturbating. Keeping things clean is a simple step, but it's vital in preventing infections or irritation, especially if you use lubricants, sex toys, or other objects to enhance the experience. Hygiene isn't just about cleanliness. It's about protecting yourself. If you're using lubricants, choose ones that are water or silicone-based. These are much kinder to your skin, reducing the risk of irritation or inflammation. With age, the skin and tissues in sensitive areas can become more delicate, so it's especially important to select gentle products. Choosing the right lubricant and ensuring everything is clean can enhance the experience, making it more comfortable and enjoyable for you. Another aspect that can change how you experience masturbation is taking the time to relax beforehand. It might seem simple, but setting the right mood can dramatically affect the quality of your experience. Activities like deep breathing, meditation, or even enjoying a warm bath before you begin can help calm your mind and body, allowing you to enjoy the moment more fully. These moments of relaxation are more than just a way to unwind. They help you to become more present with your body. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. They allow you to be fully in the moment, which can lead to greater pleasure and satisfaction. When you approach masturbation as an intentional act of self-care, it becomes something more than just physical release. It transforms into a holistic practice that nurtures both body and mind. The act of releasing tension through relaxation first not only enhances the pleasure but also makes the experience more intimate, more meaningful. Masturbation, in its essence, is a natural and healthy part of life, and it should never be something to feel ashamed or guilty about. It's a deeply personal form of self-care, one that allows you to learn about your own body, desires, and boundaries. I want to remind you, especially if you ever feel guilt or shame associated with masturbation, that these emotions deserve reflection. Why do they exist? Where do they come from? It's essential to reframe these feelings, as they often stem from societal pressures or misconceptions about sexuality. Masturbation is not something to be ashamed of. It's a normal, healthy practice that helps you understand yourself better. It's an act of self-love, of accepting and honoring your body in its entirety. Instead of repressing these feelings, embrace them. Be kind to yourself and recognize that exploring your sexuality with curiosity and openness is a beautiful thing. You deserve to experience this aspect of your life without fear or judgment. Allowing yourself to explore freely and without hesitation can make the experience even richer. Exploring different techniques, experimenting with new fantasies, or simply changing up the routine can prevent things from becoming too monotonous or predictable. The more you explore, the more you learn about your desires, and that knowledge can lead to more fulfilling and enjoyable experiences, whether alone or with a partner. That said, while masturbation has many benefits, it's important to approach it with balance. Like anything in life, it's possible to become too dependent on it, to turn it into a routine that no longer feels fulfilling. If masturbation begins to replace other forms of connection or becomes a way to avoid dealing with deeper emotional or psychological issues, it might be a sign to reassess how you're engaging with it. Masturbation should be a healthy and enjoyable part of your life, not something that fills a void or becomes a crutch. If you find yourself feeling like it's taking over or creating negative impacts in your life, it might be time to take a step back and explore other forms of self-care, connection, and personal growth. Ultimately, masturbation is about understanding and caring for your body in a way that fosters both physical pleasure and emotional well-being. It can be a nurturing act, a moment of peace and self-reflection, a way to understand your own needs. When approached mindfully, it's not just a physical release, but a beautiful practice of self-love and acceptance. As we wrap up today's discussion, I hope you've gained a deeper understanding of how masturbation can be not only a moment of pleasure but also a valuable opportunity for self-awareness and self-care. From being mindful of your body's signals to practicing good hygiene and incorporating relaxation techniques, these small but significant steps can truly enhance your overall experience and contribute to a healthier, more connected relationship with yourself. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned from this video that you'll bring into practice in your own life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your feedback is always valuable, and I'm excited to hear how this information resonates with you. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourself.